Roblox Jailbreak is now 7 years old, and over the last 7 years there's been a ton of new things that have been added to the game that are just kind of useless and haven't had much of a use. So today we'll be going over some of these useless things that have been added into the game over the past few years, and we'll see what they actually do and if they're worth even having in the game now. So yeah, let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into this with the fire truck. So if you guys aren't aware, basically whenever you use the fire truck, there's an option to spray water out the front of it, and basically using that feature, you could put out fires and then it pays you a little bit of money. And so you guys might be thinking, well, super, this is a useful feature, right? It pays you money, you put out fires, and it's pretty much like working like a fireman, right? Well, no, that's not really how it works. So yes, every time you put out a fire, you get a little bit of a payment, but see, that payment's only like $100, and see, nowadays, that isn't really much, you know? And not to mention, but there's also a giant cooldown on putting out fires as well, so you're barely getting paid anything, and you're also standing there for like 10 seconds to put out one fire. Overall, it's just not really that good for making money, and it's a huge waste of time, so if there's something they can do to maybe improve it, then that would be nice, but for now, this is just kind of one of those useless features that we don't really need in the game. And now in second place here, we have house vaults, and it's mainly because they also, just like the fire truck, don't pay you too much. But there's also not really many ways to actually defend your vault without breaking the game, which is kind of unfortunate. Really, all we have in the game right now is a confetti cannon, which could push you around, and a few teleporters, spike traps, which are also limited, and a few turrets. Which, when you actually lay all of them down and you put them in a strategic layout, it's not really that good, and they're really easy to destroy as well, so it's just not that good. And as I said, unless you're like breaking the game to place that furniture in better ways, it's just not really that useful, because even then, the vault barely pays you anything at all. Basically, how the vault works is whenever you make money, it kind of adds a little bit of that money into the vault, and then you collect it later with your crew, but that's also split in between multiple people, and police can also raid it. It's just not a good system. Honestly, a good way to fix this problem might just be adding more ways to defend your home and maybe a few extra ways to make money for the vault. Because yeah, the way it is right now isn't really that good. And now in third place here, we have the soccer ball in front of the prison, and that's just mainly because it gets changed every 1 year, and even when it changes, once you do it, there's not really a point to actually do it again because you already have the item that it gives you. If you guys aren't aware, basically every year there's a soccer ball in front of the prison that lasts there the entire year, and it gives you a new limited item. But see, once you get that limited item and you put the soccer ball into the goal, there's no real point to it being there anymore because, well, you already have the item and pretty much everyone else gets it as well because it gives it to the whole server. So then you just kind of end up with a giant soccer ball sitting out in the yard that doesn't really do anything, you know, it's just kind of sitting there. So how does Badimo actually fix this problem? Well, it's actually quite simple. Basically, make it so that every time you get the soccer ball in the goal for the first time, you get the limited item like normal. But then every time you do it afterwards, you get a little bit of a cash reward instead, as long as there's no new limited item. So that way you still have the soccer ball that gives you a good limited item, but then after that there's still a point to it because it gives you an extra little bit of money for putting it into the goal. It would make the soccer ball a lot more useful, and it would probably make putting it into the goal a lot more worth your time, because right now it's just kind of a waste of time, you know, and even with the limited item, it's not really worth much in trading, so, you know, there's not really much of a point. But next up here we have the helicopter lights, and it's mainly because they're, first of all, barely ever used, and second of all, they barely do anything at all. Basically, how the helicopter lights work is whenever you hover your mouse over someone while having the lights activated, it slows them down, and that makes it so that it's a little bit easier to catch people. But see, the thing is, the light only works while you're in the helicopter, and you can't arrest people in vehicles like that. So what's the point of having the light to slow people down when you can't actually use it on them when you're trying to arrest them, you know? It doesn't really make much sense. And even then, the speed reduction isn't that much, so you're still going pretty fast, and it's still really hard to catch people with it, so yeah, it just doesn't really make that much sense at all. Maybe if Badimo wants to improve this feature, they could make it so that the speed reduction is a little bit higher, or maybe they can make it so that it lasts longer when you get out of the vehicle, like it doesn't immediately turn off. Or maybe they can make it so that the flashlight has the exact same ability as the helicopter lights, as in when you pull it out, it slows down any criminals near you so you could catch up with them easier. Because yeah, right now the helicopter lights are pretty much never used, and even when they are used, it's mostly just for cosmetic purposes. And another bad thing about them is they barely help you see in the dark as well, so if you're trying to see something that's dark on the ground or something at night, it doesn't even help you there because there's like a giant decal on the floor for it as well. It's just not that good. So yeah, the helicopter lights definitely need some polishing in a future update, but the way they are right now are just not really that good. And now for the final, most useless thing inside of Roblox Jailbreak right now, it's the smoke grenades. I don't think I even need to explain why these things are useless. They're extremely expensive, and they barely do anything at all. Really, the only thing the smoke grenades do right now is blur your vision a little bit, and even then you could still see name tags, so there's not really much of a point to using it. And also not to mention, but the radius in which it blurs your vision from is also really low, and it's just not useful at all. I'm gonna be honest, if you're using a smoke grenade in Roblox Jailbreak 2024, you're probably better off using a flashlight to try blinding whoever's trying to get you, because yeah, smoke grenades, they're not really gonna do anything at all, and you could see pretty much straight through them. And as I said before, they're also extremely expensive for what they are. They're like $1,200 for every smoke grenade. It's just not worth it. So yeah, what Badimo could do to fix this is just make it so that it blurs your vision for a longer distance, you know, it goes farther away from the actual smoke grenade. And while they're at it, they could probably make it even better by making it so that if you're near a smoke grenade when it blows up, it deals a little bit of damage to you. Because then how you could use it is you could throw it down where someone is camping, for example, and then it deals a little bit of damage to them, and you could just run away in the smoke while they're slow as well from all the damage. And then people would actually have a good reason to use it, you know, it deals damage, it blurs people's vision, and it's actually worth your money. But the way it is right now is just kind of the opposite of that. It's not really worth it, and it doesn't really do anything. But yeah, those are the top 5 most useless things inside of Roblox Jailbreak. If you guys think there are any more things that have been added to the game over the last 7 years that might need some polishing or maybe a revamp, make sure to put it down below in the comments. But yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.